Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me here today, where we are talking about my first book for May, and that book is Finlay Donovan Digs Her Own Grave. And this is the fifth book in the Finlay Donovan series. And I mentioned in the May Reads video that this book was going to make or break this series for me. I enjoyed the first three books. The fourth one I wasn't that crazy about, but you will be happy to hear that I really enjoyed this one. Once again, we will try to keep this spoiler free. So let's start by reviewing some of the characters that you'll meet in the series. So Finlay Donovan is an author. She's the mother of two. Her ex-husband Stephen has left her for another woman. In the first book of the series, Finlay Donovan is killing it. She is working, or she's supposed to be working, on a new book, but she can't come up with an idea that's going to work. Her previous books have not sold that well. Her kids, Delia and Zachary, take up a lot of her time, and by the time they go to sleep, she's completely exhausted. And she's barely got enough money to pay her bills. Delia and Zachary are Finlay and Stephen's children. And Delia is 4 and Zachary is 2. Vero Ruiz is Finlay's nanny, bookkeeper, friend, and partner in crime. Vero has a backstory, which I'm not going to go into. Parts of it are revealed as you read the series. But there are some things that she is keeping secret from most people. Stephen Donovan is Finlay's ex-husband. He has left Finlay for another woman, and over the series, he kind of vacillates in his feelings toward Finlay. Julian is a law student who is working as a bartender part-time, and Finlay meets him in the first book. Julian is a possible love interest for Finlay. Nick is another possible love interest for Finlay. He is a detective, and Finlay's sister, Georgia, promotes Nick as a good match for Finlay. Nick and Finlay work on cases together, and Finlay's definitely interested in him, but she's keeping a lot of information secret from him. Cam is a teenage hacker. We meet him in the second book of the series when he began working with Finlay. He gets a bigger role in the fifth book. And Finlay is kind of like a surrogate mother to Cam. Mrs. Haggerty is Finlay's elderly neighbor, and she's a classic curmudgeon. She's nosy, she's opinionated, and she is the president of the neighborhood watch. At the start of this book, Mrs. Haggerty is being released from jail after being arrested in relation to a body that was found in her garden. Her electricity was turned off, and her house is a crime scene. And so her grandson, Brandon, asks Finlay if Mrs. Haggerty can stay with her, and it should only be a few days. While Finlay would rather not, she lets Mrs. Haggerty stay, and Mrs. Haggerty promptly moves into Finlay's room. And it's not the best time for a guest. Delia has just been suspended from school. Zachary is being potty trained, and he's at the point where he rips off all his clothes and runs around the house naked. Much of the humor comes from situations that Finlay gets into because of Mrs. Haggerty. Whether it is following Mrs. Haggerty on her middle-of-the-night walks through the neighborhood, or driving her to her book club, which is actually pretty suspicious, and waiting in the car for her because Mrs. Haggerty won't let her come in, and keeping the peace between Mrs. Haggerty and Zachary. But we get to know some of these characters much better. Mrs. Haggerty goes from being a side character to having more of a central role, and we get to understand and appreciate her better. Cam becomes a friend to Mrs. Haggerty and a real help to Finlay. And while Mrs. Haggerty has been released, the new suspect is Stephen. And while Finlay knows Stephen, her ex-husband, has many problems, she also knows he is not a killer, and she is determined to prove his innocence. But her determination to see Stephen freed also causes her love interest to question her motives. So how does the book compare to the others? This book really worked for me. In fact, I liked it the best of not all of them, but the best in the last few. The friendship between Finlay and Vero is amazing. They are friends who genuinely care for one another and are there for each other. A large part of the enjoyment of this series is just suspending disbelief and going with what happens. I also liked that Finlay seems to have matured in her relationship. In this book, when there's an issue with her and her love interest and his concern about where their relationship is, she deals with it head on before the end of the book. And instead of running from the problem, she addresses it. And it was nice to see that growth in her. So what can you read for a similar experience? And I have one suggestion for you because this is such a unique book. And that is the Vera Wong series, starting with Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. And this series is by Jessie Q. Sutanto. And I have not had a chance yet to read this series, but it is on my reading list, so sometime this year I'll get to it. Vera Wong is a tea expert who enjoys doing detective work on the internet. So when she finds a dead man in her tea shop, she knows she can do a better job than the police, so she decides to catch the killer on her own. So there we go. Let's choose our next May read. I have the prompt board over here. And like always, I'm just going to reach over and grab a prompt. And the prompt is a mystery. So bear with me while I find a mystery. We'll go over this way. And I believe that I have found one. We are going to read the YA mystery, Murder Between Friends by Liz Lawson. Thanks for joining me here today. We have an Explore and Create coming up in 2 days, and then we'll be back next week with Murder Between Friends. I hope that you enjoyed our book talk, and I hope that you enjoy all that you do and all that you read. And thank you.